Today's guest star is Mike from America. He's now living in Ho Chi Minh in Vietnam. One of our favorite countries is Vietnam. He's going to talk about the new 90-day visa. He's going to talk about his cost of living, cultural differences. And the first part of the video will have pictures of him and his new beautiful girlfriend. And after that, I'll put a video of Chung and I. We've been all through Vietnam. And so you have something to look at while the two of us chat. Here we go. This is Dan of Vagabond Awake. Today we have Mike on the channel. Mike, welcome to Vagabond Awake.
How's it going, Dan?
Real good, Mike. So why don't you tell us where you are in the world right now, and and how long have you been there?
Okay, I'm in Saigon, Vietnam. Official name is Ho Chi Minh City. It's capital of Vietnam. I've been here for about 3.5 months.
What was your home country, and why did you decide to leave?
Well, I was actually born in Vietnam, but I grew up in the USA. So I was in the USA from 5 years old up until now. And so it's kind of a complicated answer, but my dad died last year. My life kind of changed, and I just reevaluated my life. And I'm thinking, my time is limited on this earth. So I need to make the best of it while I'm still young and able to. So I just did a lot of research, watched a lot of YouTube, watched a lot of your channels, and figured out that, I need to go to my homeland and see if I can live there long term.
Right. And so what was the dream? What was the dream when you were leaving and you were thinking, these are the things I want to add to my life now? These parts maybe have been good, but I want to add these new things to my dream. Or what's your dream?
Yeah, so I just wanted to, in the US, it's a work culture. You work 10 hours a day, you go home, you watch TV, you eat dinner, you wake up, you repeat. I just wanted to break that cycle and just do something different. I figured out that, in Southeast Asia, my US dollar could go a lot longer than it did in Dallas, Texas. And so I figured, I could travel. Once I'm in Southeast Asia, like in Saigon, I could go anywhere in Southeast Asia for $100 or less. So I could travel for cheap. My cost of living is way lower. So I figured, if I can retire 10, 15 years earlier, why not do it?
Great. And was part of your dream, are you single, or did you come over there to find love too?
Yeah, so I'm kind of like you. I'm a plan A, B, and C type of guy. So, I did go online and I did find a girl, but, I also knew that, anything can happen, right? I mean, I can get there and it could be totally different from what I figured. So, I didn't put all my eggs in one basket. I just made sure that, I had a plan A, B, and C in place. So, like I said, I would have just traveled Southeast Asia, hung out, and try to figure out my life from there. But what happened was that I met a girl in Saigon, and we clicked pretty well. And so I've been staying here ever since. But we still want to travel, but we haven't gotten to that point yet.
Well, cool. So you met a local girl there in Saigon. Did you meet her online, or how did you meet her?
Yeah, I met her online on a site called VietnamCupid.com.
Oh, cool. And what would you say, maybe compared to dating in the US, would you say it's easier to find someone that that's desirable to you, or is it a little harder? What's your evaluation of the ability to meet someone interesting there in Vietnam compared to back home?
Yeah, I mean, I watched a lot of videos on YouTube, and they all say the same thing as what I'm about to tell you. I mean, I've been divorced in the US for about 10 years, and I've dated a lot. But, as all these other guys say, dating in the US is difficult. Whereas dating in Southeast Asia is a lot easier. It's hard for me to explain it, but it's you're more of a commodity here. You're more desired here than you are in the US. In the US, it's always difficult to try to prove yourself, and always difficult to try to measure up to these lofty expectations that women have of men. Whereas in Asia, it's almost like shooting fish in a barrel. It's a lot easier.
Yeah, that's great, man. If you would like to learn how I fired my boss and traveled the world for 16 years and how I pay for things, grab a free copy of my ebook. So you look really young. You're not even close to retirement, are you?
Well, I mean, I'm in my 50s, early 50s, so I'm older than I look. But yeah, I'm not. I mean, I shouldn't be retired, but like I said, if you can do it 10, 15 years earlier, why not? So that's why I'm testing the waters.
There's the real dream. There's the real dream. Right on, man. Oh, so tell us a little bit about maybe what what your rent is, electricity, that kind of stuff, so people get an idea what it costs to live there in Saigon, at least
Yeah,
for you.
so I lived in District 8 in Saigon, which is it's not the city center, but I can get to the city center in like 5-7 minutes, so it's not that bad. I have a small 1-bedroom apartment, and it's $321 a month. I pay like $40 a month in electric. The water comes with it, internet comes with it. I park my motorbike downstairs, it comes with it. So I don't pay anything extra other than that. So 320 plus 45 for electric.
Wow, that's great. And what do you think you're spending per month, like out in restaurants and stuff like that?
Yeah, so my monthly, I include restaurants, groceries, and entertainment all in one thing, and it's about 450 to 500 a month for 2 people.
Sweet, sweet.
Yeah, so as long as you don't, I mean, you know, Saigon is like the New York City of Vietnam, so you can live any kind of lifestyle you want. You know, you can the sky is the limit. You can spend as much as you want. You know, I mean, so but I watch a lot of these guys, and they say $1,500 a month is the standard, and I think that's correct. I'm around $1,200 to $1,500 a month. I mean, not living like a king, but not living like a local either. Somewhere in the middle, like a middle class, maybe an upper middle class lifestyle.
And that brings up a great point. You're from Texas, living that 12 to 1,500 lifestyle in Vietnam. What would it cost to buy that back in Texas, do you guess?
Texas is fairly cheap. Dallas is not bad. So I mean, probably about 3,000 to 5,000, something like that. Just depends. It's a wide range, but yeah, 3,000 to 5,000.
So even on the low side at 3, it's roughly, you're cutting your expenses in half, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So is that why you saw a vision where maybe you could retire early? Is that how that worked out?
Yeah, yeah. For me, it's like a multifaceted deal. Like I said, I was born here, so it's my roots, and so I wanted to get back in touch with my roots. But yeah, the money savings is a huge factor also. And you know, like I said, you know, you get out of the rat race, you explore new things, you learn new things. And so even though I was born here, I left at 5, and so everything is brand new to me. So I'm learning everything. So you know, it's that sense of adventure. You come here, it's a totally foreign land. You learn the new cultures. I have to relearn the language because I don't really know it that well. And so everything is a learning experience. So it's cool that way. And then also the cost of living is cheaper. And like I said, the dating is a lot easier too. So there's a lot of advantages. I mean, there's disadvantages also. So you just have to weigh the advantages versus the disadvantages.
One of the things you hear people, some Europeans and Americans talk about online, is that they feel like they're paying more money because, you know, they're seen as a foreigner. Is that an advantage you have? Like, when people see you, do you feel like they're giving you a better price? I guess you wouldn't really know that though, would you?
No, I
What
do
are
know
your
that.
thoughts about it?
They actually, the Vietnamese people here, it's kind of crazy because when they see me, they know that I'm a foreigner. They can tell by my stature, the way I hold myself, my clothes, it's almost everything about me, my mannerisms. Even when I speak, they automatically can tell that I'm not one of them. So they automatically will say that you have more money than us, it costs you more. So I'm the type of guy where I just kind of know what the typical prices should be. And if they're overcharging me, then I'll just walk away and go somewhere else, which I've done several times.
That's a really great point that you're making. And that is, if you just think back home, right? When you're in your hometown, Dallas in your case, and you know a foreigner when you see them, right? It's their clothes, their mannerisms, even before they open their mouth. That's a great point. So thanks for sharing that. I hadn't thought about that, but I always know foreigners when I see them, when they're walking around. It doesn't really matter what country they're from or what their heritage is. You can just kind of spot that they're just a little bit clothing or mannerisms or whatever. So thanks for sharing that. Because healthcare is more reasonable overseas than it is back in the U.S. Some expats just go and pay their own way whenever they need to take care of healthcare or dental or whatever. Are you doing that, or you have some kind of insurance policy for your healthcare?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure all that out right now. But right now, I am paying my own. I'm actually under a dentist care, doing periodontal disease stuff for my gums and my teeth, and so I've been going regularly. So I just went yesterday actually, and it was $20 for a checkup and a cleaning. So it wasn't bad. And then I had some gum surgery done, and it was like $80. So it's very cheap. And this is a specialist. It's not a regular dentist.
So what are some of the things you like to do for fun over there?
The main things I've been doing is just like one weekend we went to 𝗏𝗏, which is like 5-6 hours away, and it's a mountainous area, higher elevation, it's cooler. So we went there, hung out for a little bit. In Saigon itself, I've been to Vung Tau, which is a coastal city by the beach, about 2 hours away. And then there's a ton of things to do in Saigon. Like I said, Saigon's like New York City, so there's a ton of things. Yeah, so I don't know Vietnamese very well, so I hang out with a lot of expats because they obviously speak English. And so I've been meeting a lot of those guys, and those guys are drinkers. I don't really drink much, but we'll hang out at bars. We'll go to restaurants. We're going to this Saturday, we're going to a buffet. It's a river cruise, so you get on a cruise ship, and they take you down the Saigon River and you eat dinner on it. So it's pretty nice. It's like $20 per person for the buffet and the river cruise, like a 3-hour thing. So it's pretty nice.
Well, that's great. And so do you feel safe there? And would you say more safe, about the same as when you were in Dallas? What are your thoughts about safety? Because expats always, for some reason, they always think the world is really dangerous and it's safer there where they are. What are your thoughts about that comparison?
Yeah, you think of Vietnam as a third world country, and you think it's a war zone, but yeah, it's not. It's a developing country. It's safer in Saigon than it is in Dallas, Texas. And I can walk around at 1 a.m. and not worry about it. The only thing that tourists need to worry about is their personal belongings. I mean, don't walk around with your phone in the air because somebody will ride by with a motorbike and snatch it. That's the biggest thing. They'll snatch your purse. Anything that's easy, it's a crime of opportunity. They see something, if it's a 5-second fix, they'll do it. So you just gotta be aware of that. But I think that's anywhere in the world you go. So, but yeah, you got to be aware of making sure you don't flaunt your electronics, because they'll snag that for sure.
But it sounds like you're not worried about. So if you have to keep that stuff tight and close, but you're not worried about being assaulted or mugged and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that's lower, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah. I don't worry about my personal safety. I don't worry about getting shot because they don't have guns here, and I haven't seen any instances of being harassed or anything bad. So yeah, there's nothing. I mean, like I said, overall, I would say Saigon is safer than Dallas, Texas.
You mentioned New York City. I kind of had that same feeling also, like the rooftop bars. There's like a very vibrant young culture, it seems like, in many ways. And so there's always a lot going on, things to do, great restaurants. And so to me, it's a very culturally alive place. And it's nice to be somewhere like that, where it's not an arm and a leg. Because if you try to go to places like that in the US, which are, fun to be and stuff going on, you're talking about high hotel bills, high restaurant bills, high drink, everything's expensive when you go to those sort of little neighborhoods in the US, whatever city you're in. And I didn't find that anywhere in Vietnam. A little bit higher. It's not like the country prices, but you don't break the bank when you go out and have a good time. Is that kind of your experience too?
Yeah, it's funny because right before I left the US, I went to a Vietnamese restaurant in Dallas, and I bought a bowl of pho, and it was like $16 before tip. I get here and it's $1.20, no tip. It's a non-tipping culture. So it was crazy, the price difference. So yeah, I mean, Saigon is, like you said, New York City. It's the highest and most expensive city in Vietnam, but I'm eating a bowl of pho for $1.20. So it's crazy where you can save on money with.
What kind of visa do you have, and it's like how long can you stay and that kind of stuff? What's your visa status?
Yeah, so I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm what they call Viet, which is I was born in Vietnam, but I'm a U.S. citizen, and so I was able to get a 5-year visa exemption, and so I can stay in Vietnam for 6 months before I have to leave. But they just passed a 90-day visa for everybody else, for most everybody else, and so I think starting in August 15th, I think Americans can stay for 90 days now, whereas it was 30 days for a while after COVID. Now I think it's gonna be back to 90 days pretty soon.
Right on. I just read that, and I'm hoping it'll be where you can just do visa runs to Cambodia, or whatever country you're nearest to, Laos, because That would be sweet. Then it'll be like it was pretty much, before COVID. So that's great news. Thanks for sharing that. And wow, what a great benefit, 5 years. And you only have to do a visa run every 6 months?
Yeah.
Wow, that's sweet. So any advice for people like if you were leaving again today, now you know what you know, and you're in Dallas and you're packing or you're thinking about leaving, anything you'd do different now?
Yeah, I would bring more electronics because electronics are more expensive here. So bring a laptop, bring a backup laptop, bring a cell phone, bring a backup cell phone. And I found out that it's kind of funny because shoes are made in Vietnam, but in Vietnam, shoes are more expensive. So I'm not sure how that works, but yeah, bring your shoes, bring your best running shoes, bring your best shoes. Another big thing is that, make sure your banking is set. Have a plan A, B, and C for your banking, because it's going to be a lot harder to do banking when you're overseas. Make sure you can transfer to Wise or something like that, and then get a Charles Schwab debit card so you don't have to pay any fees, and get a credit card that has no international fees that you can pay, that you can charge things to.
Great,
and then bring $100 crisp $100 bills. They don't like any bills that are not crisp and brand new. They want everything brand new for some reason. So make sure they're flawless $100 bills.
Exactly. And you're great point. So now, is that like a backup safety plan for you? You just have, some hundreds laying around, and that you normally use your ATM, or what you're thinking about when you'd use those crisp, perfect $100 bills?
Yeah. So 5,000 is the limit you can bring. So I brought 5,000 USD. That was just my startup money that I used. And then after that, I just used my bank. I was able to open up a Vietnamese bank account, and then from my US bank, I would transfer it over to Wise, and then from Wise, I would transfer it over to my Vietnamese bank. And then here they have internet banking, so I could pay all my bills through internet banking.
So bills back home, you just use internet banking at your US bank, right?
Yeah, those are all automatic. I don't have to do anything with those.
Yeah, so that's all great advice. Thank you. So have you noticed some cultural differences? Ones that that surprise you, or that you think might be useful to people to understand about if they're going to visit Vietnam or live there?
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a few cultural differences. You'll notice that they'll throw trash everywhere. I mean, if you're sitting at a restaurant, most of them are outdoor restaurants, but you're sitting at a restaurant, you have a trash can right next to you. The Vietnamese will throw the trash on the floor instead of the trash can right next to them. They don't think twice about littering. I don't think littering is a thing here. They just do it. Like in the US, we try not to litter, but in Vietnam, they don't care. They just throw it anywhere. So trash is a big thing. Learning the traffic was huge. Their rules and regulations are totally different. It's chaos, but it's organized chaos. So you just got to figure out their flow. It took me a while, but I think I kind of got it now. It's like a swarm of fish, and you have to kind of integrate into that swarm. You got to get rid of your US mindset, and you got to figure out their mindset. So that was a challenge. Walking across the street is also a challenge. It's the same thing. You can't wait for a gap. You just got to walk, and then they will dodge you. You just got to have faith that they will dodge you, which they will, but you got to make eye contact with them, go slow and steady, no sudden movements, don't go backwards, only go forwards. So those things were kind of cultural adjustments. And then also the line cutting, they cut in line all the time, and it will frustrate you, but that's just the way it is. I remind myself all the time that, hey, I'm a guest here, and I got to abide by their rules. I'm not going to change Vietnam. So I just have to adjust myself to their culture. So yeah, I've run into a lot of different cultural differences that are kind of unusual to me, but like I said, I have to adjust.
Yeah, that's great advice. It took me probably, now it's not just so people know, it's not just Vietnam, it's all of Southeast Asia. It's like they just roll up to a street, they look, if there's a room, they go. They don't stop, they don't look both, and when you crawl, like you said, all of that stuff's really great advice. And kind of when you were talking about riding, I assume you ride a scooter like a lot of people. It's kind of like a feeling you get eventually where you feel safe suddenly, even though when you first get there and you try to ride a scooter, you're freaking out because people, they're all so close to you, everyone's moving, and so it can be hectic, but it's actually, in some ways, it feels safer because people aren't going so fast. And when they're wrecked, the wrecks aren't as bad. Where you see a motorcycle wreck in the US and it's really bad, but it's like when something happens, it's even rare that you see one, but it's sort of people like yell at each other a little bit. There's no fighting and everyone just gets on their bike and rides away. So it's a whole different culture with the scooters. And but I feel safe now whether I'm in Vietnam or Thailand or I'm in that groove you're talking about, and it takes a while. And crossing the street, wow, what great advice. So great. So what do you think, Mike, so far about, so are you happy about your move? Do you feel good inside about it?
Yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy. Like I said, I'm a very analytical person, so I'm still trying to take all the data points into account. But overall, from what I can tell, the costs outweigh the benefits. I mean, the benefits outweigh the costs. So, I mean, it's like I said, it's a lower stress lifestyle, way lower cost of living. You're seen more as an asset here than in the West. And so, yeah, overall, my dollar goes a lot farther. I can do a lot more things. So yeah, I think overall that I'm happier here than I was in the West. Still trying to analyze everything, but overall, I think it's a good thing so far.
Yeah, that's great. So if you'd like to come back in, like a year or something, and let us know how you've adjusted, maybe the year point or 9 months or something. Come back and let us know. And also, you asked me in an email once, and if people could comment below and let us know. Mike's thinking about starting a YouTube channel, and so comment below if you think he should, and let him know what your thoughts are about it. Would you like Mike to start a YouTube channel in Saigon? So,
yeah, that'd be awesome if I could get some feedback on that. See if people are actually interested in that.
Click the link in the notes below this video for Google Map links, reports, and other information. There you will also see our Retire Cheap in Paradise catalog, how we pay for our travels, and my free ebook, How I Fired My Boss and Traveled the World for 14+ years.